Happy anniversary. This is my guide to all things standard banner in Zenless Zone 0. Who should you pick? Who's good? How about engines? I'm going to cover it all. Before we get into any of this, I want to talk about the most important thing when talking about the standard banner. Just because something is hypothetically good doesn't mean you will use it. In reality, the best things to pick from the standard banner are the things that you will actually use. And with that, let's start talking about the characters. Okay, there are 6 standard banner agents. Von Lycaon, Soldier 11, Grace, Rina, Neko, Koleda. Let's start with Von Lycaon. Von Lycaon is typically considered the traditional best standard banner agent. This is because of his role in teams. He is an off-field ice support, so he contributes days with his defensive assist and his EX special primarily. You can also use his basic attacks to fill a more on-field role for someone like Hugo. Or if you just want to contribute some more days or some more ice anomaly buildup, that is what Von Lycaon does. And along the way, he gives a 35% stun multiplier and a 25% ice resistance shred. The stun multiplier requires him to hit an enemy that is currently stunned. So something you will very commonly see is filling up the days bar with Von Lycaon, or activating a chain attack with Von Lycaon after doing, let's say, 1 chain attack. This is something we do with Hugo a lot. I will get a clip so we can insert it of stunning the enemy, doing a Hugo chain, then switching to Lycaon to apply the buff, and then Hugo chaining again. Von Lycaon's ice resistance shred is applied by his EX special attack and his assist follow-up. This is his skill priority because I primarily recommend him as a off-field support or days contributor. His assist and EX are his most important skills. His ultimate is also very nice for just big chunk of days. Less important are his basic attacks, his dodge counter, and his core. If you do decide to play Lycaon as a more on-field stun agent, you should level these things. Similarly with gearing, you may believe Restrained is good for Lycaon. It is Lycaon's engine. It's fancy. It gives him a pretty glow. It is not his best in slot. Lycaon's best in slot engine is the Hellfire Gears, the other standard banner stun engine. Crazy, I know. Crazy. Let's talk about why, though. Hellfire Gears gives impact to all skills after using an EX special, and it gives energy regen. The major thing about this is the energy regen, which is also why his second best in slot engine is the Steam Oven. The Steam Oven is the craftable, so you're either going to use the craftable Steam Oven or you're going to get Hellfire Gears. Or Von Lycaon. Energy regen effectively makes him EX special more often, which contributes more days. Then, unlike the Restrained, which is higher days on his basic attacks, but you don't really want to use his basic attacks enough for Restrained to actually be a standout choice. Speaking on drive discs, you could use the new stun set, or you could use Astral Voice, or you could use Swing Jazz. You could also use Protopunk because of the defensive assists. So the general best set is going to be the new one. If that set is already in use on the team, you can use Astral Voice if your team has quick assists to the DPS. If it does not, you're going to be using Protopunk or Swing Jazz. I didn't mention 2-piece. Good 2-piece options are Swing Jazz for extra energy regen, Shockstar Disco for extra impact, and King of the Summit for extra days. There are 2 main teams for Von Lycaon. They are Miyabi Mono Ice and Hugo Vlad. Miyabi Mono Ice is technically the best team in the game, period, at this point in time. It is very difficult to play. When you play Lycaon in this team, his current best gearing option is Astral Voice. Summit, King of the Summit may replace Astral Voice here, only time will tell. Either one is good. And you play Sokaku with 4-piece Freedom Blues, which is why you would run Astral Voice on Lycaon. When you play Lycaon with Hugo, Lycaon is going to be one of 2 stun agents. So you are going to bounce between Lycaon and the other stun agent while building up days for Hugo. One of the agents in a Hugo team should be holding Protopunk. The other one should be on the new set. Doesn't really matter which. And if you are playing Hugo, you do want to make a point to level Lycaon's basic attacks and the skills related to it, because you will end up playing Lycaon on field at some point. Other notable synergy, Ellen, and if they ever make another ice DPS in the future, Lycaon will always have a place with them. Regarding Von Lycaon's mindscapes, his key mindscapes are M1, M3, and M5. His M1 is extra days on his EX special. This is just kind of useful. Other than that, none of them do anything besides the skill levels. Because Lycaon is a stun agent, doing extra days is a good thing, and skill levels give you extra days. The damage gain from them is not the focus. While Lycaon's M6 may seem cool, it is just for him and his personal damage, which is insignificant. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. This is Soldier 11. Soldier 11 is an on-field fire DPS. Her mechanic is called Fire Suppression. This just is whenever you basic attack with good timing, the basic attack does fire damage. Ideally, all of your basic attacks will do fire damage. The trick for the timing of this ability is you can be late, but never early. That's the best way to learn the timing for Soldier 11. Once you get the hang of it, it's very simple. You may have heard me refer to Soldier 11 as one of the most support-dependent DPS characters. I will stand by that. It's very true. But because she has the ability to be supported, you can make Soldier 11 work as a DPS and complete all content easily with her, which is really impressive and a really good thing about her. Soldier 11 skill priority, you want to make sure you level her basic attack and her chain attack. Her core increases the damage on her basic attacks. Her EX special is a good chunk of damage, and her dodge counter is really nice when she is on field. Soldier 11 actually has a limited engine option in Heartstring Nocturne. When you play Soldier 11's best team, which is currently Astra Lighter, the Heartstring Nocturne edges out the Brimstone for Soldier 11. That does not make the Brimstone bad, and we're going to talk about Brimstone separately later, but Heartstring Nocturne is Soldier 11's best in slot engine. If you do not go for either of those engines, the A rank options are the Mercado Desire, which you may not have access to since it was a 1.4 limited event weapon. You do not have it, you can use the Starlight engine or the Street Superstar. Of the two, I'm going to recommend the Starlight engine because it's a bit more consistent and a bit less bursty. And the passive is definitely not a problem with Astra. Or Nicole. Drive discs for Soldier 11. There is a set called Inferno Metal. It's actually not the set that people use the most on Soldier 11. The set that is most prevalent is Hormone Punk. This is the set we see the most in Soldier 11 gameplay. You can still use Inferno Metal. You can still use Woodpecker Electro, but the best results have been with Hormone Punk. But if you just want to put the red set on the red character, I respect it. I do respect it. Regarding teams, I mentioned this earlier. Her current best team, Lighter Astra. If you do not have Astra, you can use Nicole. If you do not know how to use Nicole, you can use Lucy. There are options. Regarding Lighter, Lighter is the character who is available in second half of 1.7. I strongly recommend Lighter if you're interested in playing Soldier 11 or already invested in playing Soldier 11, or she's your favorite character. Lighter is just a really strong fire support. He makes fire DPS agents better. Without Lighter, you may find yourself struggling. You can definitely still make Soldier 11 work. It just may be more difficult. Soldier 11's mindscapes are all generally quite good, but they're all generally low increases. Because Soldier 11, Grace, and Neko are all DPS agents, any damage increase on them matters. So I'm hesitant to say they're all bad, because if you play Soldier 11, you're gonna get a lot of use out of her mindscapes. If you don't play Soldier 11 at all, you're going to get zero use out of her Mindscapes. Because she is a DPS, you're either playing her or you're not. So yes, Soldier 11's Mindscapes are generally all useful. Her M1 gives her energy every 50 seconds. This allows her to enter combat with an EX special available. Her M2 is some damage bonus. Her M3 is skill levels. Her M4 gives her iframes during her basic attack 4, which is the big spinny attack, the one that actually does damage. Her M5 is skill levels, and her M6 is resistance shred on her basic attacks. So these are all generally damage increases. M4 is quality of life, but we can say they're all generally damage increases. So if you play Soldier 11, don't be afraid to pick up a Mindscape. They're certainly not bad. This is Rina. Rina is a shock anomaly buffer. How does she do this? She buffs pen percent and shock anomaly duration by 3 seconds. Rina's buff is applied after any of her attacks. This includes her basic attack, her dash attack, her EX special attack, her ultimate attack, or her chain attack. So something you will very commonly see is just briefly switching to Rina after any action to reapply her buff. By default, this is the duration of her buff. With M1, that duration increases, but you still need to be careful and maintain that buff. You need to play very carefully and make sure you need to play very carefully and very structured to ensure you're getting the most out of Rina. And that's the difficulty with this character. Rina's pen percent buff is not as significant as people want it to be, but shock duration extension is the reason Rina can be great. This allows disorders with shock anomaly agents to do additional damage because Rina has increased the maximum duration of the shock anomaly, which is why you will commonly see Rina paired with someone like Yanagi, because she directly makes Yanagi do more damage, and her buff directly contributes to that more than other agents, or more than some other support agents. Along with that, Rina's most important skill, you need to level her core. That's just her pen buff. It's got to get leveled. Other than that, you can level her chain, her EX, and her assist, but you don't need to level them too much. Her damage is a bit ancillary. Regarding gearing, Rina has 2 engine options: Weeping Cradle and Kaboom the Cannon. Weeping Cradle is the standard, Weeping Cradle is the standard S-rank engine option. This is after chain attack and EX special, Rina gives damage bonus. Kaboom the Cannon is a attack percent buff for agents who attack. Rina actually helps fill this up with Anasilla and Drusilla, her Bang Boo dolls. Chat's making me laugh. Anyway, her Bang Boo dolls do help contribute Kaboom the Cannon. If you want a ghost mommy in your life, maybe Rina's the right choice. I don't know where, that's so out of pocket. Let's put that somewhere or don't, I don't know. Rina's drive disc options are as follows: Freedom Blues, Astral Voice, or Swing Jazz. Because she is a shock anomaly buffer, Freedom Blues allows her to help electric agents build up shock anomaly. This is quite nice. Astral Voice is useful because Rina can give quick assists. You get some Astral Voice uptime. And Swing Jazz helps because you can use Rina's chain to apply her buff. Regarding teams and places to use Rina, I mentioned her earlier, but I'll mention it again. This is Skishira Yanagi. Yanagi is the shock anomaly DPS. There is another option, but Yanagi is the shock anomaly DPS. Rina is a super valid support option for Yanagi teams. While Rina may still not give as much of a buff as the limited support agent, she does give more of a buff than the A-rank support agents, making Rina a truly good agent to pair with Yanagi. Regarding Mindscapes, here's a hot take. M1 is not Rina's best Mindscape. It's actually M6. Why do I say this? M1 gives 10% pen and 5-second uptime extension. I know the description says 5.5. It's wrong. It's actually 5. The description is wrong. Don't question it, okay? Don't question why the description is wrong, but it is. I can tell you that for a fact. Maybe they'll fix it one day. I've reported it. I reported it directly. Aware. So M1 is another 10% on her pen buff total. So she goes from giving 30% pen to 40% pen. That's nice. Her M2 buffs herself, her M3 is skill levels, which buffs herself. Her M4 is energy regen, which helps her EX special more, which is quite nice. Her M5 is skill levels, which buffs herself. And M6 is 15 electric damage bonus for the team while Rina's buff is active. Why do I say this is better than M1? Because it's technically a larger damage increase. That's it. We like damage. Stronger buff, more good. All right, you've seen the ghost mommy. What about the robot mommy? This is Grace. Grace has had a pretty tumultuous history, and I am pretty... Okay, Grace haunts me. I can't stop getting Graces. At this point, I have Mindscape Cinema level 9 Grace. Time for some technical support? I only handle technical matters. No, get away from me. Get out! While there is a... Very similarly to Soldier 11, there is a limited agent who is a better version of Grace. We're gonna ignore that and just talk about Grace as an agent. She is an on-field electric anomaly DPS. As she does basic attacks, she generates charges. When the charges at the top of, when her charges have been generated, you should press special. Even if you do not have energy to EX special, you should use the regular special. The other note about Grace is you should play her with another anomaly character for disorder damage. The most obvious example of this is Vivian. Grace's skill priority is the core because she's an anomaly agent. The skill levels themselves don't exactly matter for damage, but they do contribute days, so they are generally worth leveling. You will also use her special the most, so do with that information what you will. Regarding gearing, Grace is another agent with a limited engine option, that is Time Weaver. Time Weaver gives electric anomaly buildup %, which makes Grace apply more anomaly, which is really important because Grace can have some kind of serious anomaly uptime issues if you do not have energy and are not playing on electric weakness. So Time Weaver is very good for that. Time Weaver is also very good for Grace because it increases disorder damage. Currently, disorder teams are the only real anomaly teams on the block. Every anomaly DPS wants to be played in a disorder team right now, with an agent like Vivian or even Bernice. So Time Weaver is a really natural extension of that, which is why it's Grace's best in slot. She does have a standard banner S rank engine. This is the Fusion compiler. This is another engine we'll be talking about for other agents later, but let's talk about it for Grace. It is a pen % main stat, which makes pen disc 5 better. It makes 2-piece pen better too. It gives her anomaly proficiency for using special and EX special. And because Grace uses her regular special, she'll be able to fully stack this engine and get the full benefit from it, making it her standout by far if you do not have Time Weaver. If you do not have access to the Fusion compiler, there is the Weeping Gemini. Weeping Gemini is the craftable from Susie. I love Susie. We love Susie here. This just gives you a bunch of AP as you continue to proc anomaly proficiency without stunning the enemy. It's just real good. There is also the Battle Pass engine, Electro Lip Gloss, which is very similar to Weeping Gemini, arguably better. Because we do not play mono electric with Grace, her best drive disc is Chaos Jazz. Her 2-piece options are 2-piece anomaly proficiency or 2-piece pen %. You could also use 2-piece attack % if that's what you have. Major team synergies for Grace are Vivian or Bernice. So with Vivian, the team would be Vivian Astra or Vivian Rina or even Vivian Nicole. If you do not have Vivian, you can use Bernice. If you do not have Bernice, you might be a bit out of luck. Because Grace is another standard banner DPS agent, her mindscapes are all generally useful when you play her. Honorable mention to M2 for giving electric resistance shred and electric anomaly buildup red shred. That's nice. That's really all I have to say about it. A lot of her mindscapes are about energy regen, which is very necessary on Grace, which is a very necessary thing to have on Grace because it helps her apply more electric anomaly. And her M6 gives her some more damage whenever she uses her special. Boom! Fuck off! These references aren't useful. They changed her voice. They changed her voice. My impression isn't even useful anymore. They got rid of that voice line, by the way. Hey, are you looking down on me? This is Koleda. She is an on-field or off-field fire stun agent. A majority of her days is done by her EX special or her dodge counter. When enemies are stunned, for each time Koleda used her EX special, you will gain 35 damage bonus on chain attacks during that stun. That's really complicated, but basically EX twice and you get 70 damage bonus. It caps at 2. So you always want to make sure that you use Koleda's EX twice per stun to get the most buff out of her. That is really only useful for one agent. Most other agents don't really care about some chain damage bonus, which is the real biggest problem with Koleda, which is her buff is not great. Regarding gearing, Hellfire Gears or the Steam Oven. That's it. Hellfire Gears, more impact, more injury regen, very good. Steam Oven, more impact, more injury regen, more good. Drive discs, King of the Summit, Protopunk, Swing Jazz, and two-piece Swing Jazz or Shockstar Disco. Major synergies for Koleda are that you can play her as a budget option for characters like Hugo or Evelyn. I'm going to talk about Hugo first because I think she's a bit better with him than Evelyn, paradoxically. Hugo is a character who wants 2 stun agents. If you only have lighter, you need a second stun agent. Koleda is better than Anby. Koleda may not be better than M6 Pulchra, but you may not even have M6 Pulchra. So Koleda is definitely an option in Hugo's teams just to fill the slot and contribute some days. Although you should probably be using Lycaon, whatever. It's whatever. I just didn't want to recommend Evelyn first. I really just did not want to recommend Evelyn first because while you can play Koleda with Evelyn, the team would look like Koleda, Evelyn, Astra. The downside of that is Koleda is generally worse in this slot than a second support agent, primarily Nicole, which is slightly problematic, but it's okay. Nicole's not always available, so this is a valid use for Koleda. I just want to stress that it's not the best budget team for Evelyn, because that is a common misconception. Regarding Mindscapes, obviously the skill level +2 Mindscapes, M3 and M5, are generally good for doing more days. M1 is 15% more days on her EX when used after basic attack 2 or basic attack 4. Her M2 is 60 energy every 45 seconds after her EX special. Her EX special costs 60 energy. Every 45 seconds when you EX special, you can do another EX special. Her M4 and M6 do nothing. This is the final standard banner character and the final standard banner DPS. This is Neko Mata, or Nekomiya Mana. Why does she have 2 names? Whatever. Neko. This is Neko. She is an on-field physical DPS. She gets damage bonus after quick assist or after dodge counter. So you're going to want to keep her on field, quick assist to her often, and dodge counter as much as you can. One major gameplay tip if you do want to play Neko Mata. After you quick assist, you need to get closer to the enemy before you EX special, or it will miss. I think this is a really important gameplay tip. I think it's a little ridiculous that I have to say it, but it's really important to not miss her EX special because you tried to use it after a quick assist. Thanks, Hoyo. But yes, this is Nekomiya, or Neko Mata. Her skill priority is pretty spread out. All of them are pretty important because she's an on-field DPS. The one you can neglect the most is her assist, but even then you should still be leveling it because you need the quick assist to do damage. Gearing, Neko Mata does not have a limited S-rank engine, so we don't even need to worry about that. You can use the Steel Cushion, the Brimstone, the Mercado Desire, or the Starlight engine. Steel Cushion is Neko Mata's standard banner S-rank engine. This is a crit rate main stat, which is awesome, and it gives damage bonus when hitting enemies from behind. How do I hit enemies from behind, you may ask? You just don't exactly have full uptime on this passive. However, it is full uptime when enemies are stunned if you have M1. Cool. So there is a solution for consistently hitting enemies from behind, at least. That's cool. Believe it or not, Brimstone is actually the next best engine option on Neko. She can keep it stacked. The stats it gives are good. Is it better than Steel Cushion? Not really, but it's definitely viable. Mercado Desire is the 1.4 event engine that you may not have access to. If you don't have access to it, you can use the Starlight engine because you will be quick assisting for Neko's buff anyway. Drive discs, it's 4-piece Hormone Punk. In this case, do not put the red set on the red character. It is Hormone Punk, and if you really refuse to use Hormone Punk, you can use Woodpecker Electro. Any 2-piece will suffice. We're going to talk about teams now. So, Fizz is an attribute without specific buffers currently, and without any specific support, or any specific content or its best. But that doesn't mean Neko doesn't have team options. There is, because Neko's buff is activated after dodge counter or quick assist, you need to make sure that Neko can quick assist in. What is the best quick assist spam team? It is Astra Nicole. If you have Trigger, you can play Astra Trigger or Nicole Trigger. If you need Daze, technically the Fizz stun agent right now is Caesar. So Caesar is a great way to do Daze. Those are her key synergies. You can also use Pulchra. Pulchra is mostly useful when you have M6 on her, but it is fun that you can play the double cat girl team. It's just fun. So that could be Astra, Pulchra, Neko. So recommended teams, Astra, Nicole, Neko, Astra, Trigger, Neko, Astra, Caesar, Neko, Astra. If you say it 3 times in the mirror, she'll appear. Look, it worked. You see the live stream? It worked. Regarding Neko's Mindscapes, she is another DPS agent, so all of her Mindscapes are generally useful when you play her. Neko's M1 gives her 16% resistance shred when she is hitting enemies from behind. Additionally, all enemies that are stunned. Additionally, when enemies are stunned, when Neko hits enemies that are stunned, it is considered hitting them from behind. Got it. Sheesh. Okay. Neko's M2 gives her energy regen when there is only one enemy. Honestly, 25% energy regen is not bad. M3 is skill levels. M4 gives her 7 to 14% crit rate, stacking twice when she uses her EX special with a duration of 15 seconds. So generally, this is going to be 7% crit rate. Neko's M6 gives her 54% crit damage. This passive expires or is stacked by chain attacking and ultimate attacking. If you do 2 chains and an ult, that's all 3. And it does not expire until you leave combat, so it is full uptime. Neat. So yes, of the standard banner DPSs, Neko does technically have the best Mindscapes of the 3. But again, doesn't really matter how good the Mindscapes are, they're only useful if you play the agent. And Neko does have her own challenges. So those are the characters from the standard banner. That is every character that is every standard banner S rank agent. That's not all we need to talk about today. We got to talk about engines because there are some things to talk about here. Let's start up top. You saw me talk about it before. Hellfire Gears is an exceptionally useful engine on Von Lycaon. It is also a great engine option on Lighter. Is this as good as Blazing Laurel for Lighter? No, but it is very similar to the Steam Oven and debatably better, which is important to mention. The Hellfire Gears is just a generally good stun engine. After Hellfire Gears, we need to talk about the 2 DPS engines that are usable on other agents. They are the Fusion Compiler and the Brimstone. So if you're not familiar with Fusion Compiler, it's a 10% main stat and it gives attack percent. Because of this, it is Miyabi's best non-signature S rank engine option, or Miyabi's best, or Miyabi's second best in slot. Is it still kind of far behind? Yeah, but if you do not have Miyabi's S rank engine, Fusion Compiler, good to go. Fusion Compiler is also very good on Yanagi or Jane or even Bernice. It is a somewhat generic anomaly engine just because it has S-rank stats, even if the agents don't really stack the passive or don't really benefit as much from it. It just has good stats, so it's generally good. That would be the reasons to recommend the Fusion Compiler. The downside of the Fusion Compiler is it does not give any build-up percent. This is a problem among all of the A-rank anomaly engines. They don't give build-up percent the same way the limited S-rank anomaly engines do, and it can be somewhat inconvenient. The Fusion Compiler will not fix this for you, but it will help you do some more damage than the A-rank engines. This is the Brimstone. Brimstone is the Soldier 11 engine. It is an engine for attack agents. It's an attack main stat, and it gives attack when you do basic attacks and dash attacks. The biggest salesmen for the Brimstone are Zuyen and Haramasa. Zuyen and Haramasa are basic attack and dash attack agents respectively. They very quickly stack the Brimstone, and it's very competitive with their S-rank engines. Specifically, Zuyen, if you don't know, Brimstone is virtually the same or arguably better than the Riot Suppressor Mark 6. Brimstone is a real good engine on Zuyen. If you enjoy playing Zuyen and do not have the Riot Suppressor, get a Brimstone. It's a good engine. Brimstone is also useful on Billy, Soldier Zero Anby, Neko Mata, and Ellen as essentially an A rank plus option. Those are the characters that can maintain stacks on it. Let's also touch on the other two standard S rank engines. Neko's Steel Cushion is the general best option for Agent Corrin, and Restrained is very useful on Chingy. You can also play this engine on lighter instead of Hellfire Gears. While your impact stat will be lower, your days will be similar or even better. While Steel Cushion and Restrained may not be as stand out useful on other agents as Brimstone or Fusion Compiler, I still wanted to mention them because it is still important. I also forgot Weeping Cradle. Weeping Cradle is worse than the Vault on Nicole, but it is a pen main stat, which can help you do some more damage. That's really it. Oh, that is everything I wanted to say about the standard banner. This has been our guide to the standard banner. What you should pick, what's the best. Don't pick wrong. No matter who you pick, I want to reiterate, these things are only useful if you use them. Grabbing things just in case at the cost of skipping something that you may actually get use from is not beneficial. So keep that in mind. Don't pick something just to pick something. Pick something because you're going to use it. And if there's nothing you'll use, then it doesn't matter.